How are you, everyone? Today we have a novel session. We will discuss chapter 4 with the title The Secret of a Seller. Secret, so I want you now to guess what is the secret, and I'll tell you later. But first, let's start by revising some questions from the previous part. I have the first question. What did Colonel Saab decide to do with Joanne's mother and why? He decided to tie her up, put a cloth in her mouth, and locked her in the cellar because she might have been listening to their plans. And number 2, what did the marshal say to Russell when he met him at the station? He said that Duke Michael had suddenly felt ill and he couldn't come to the station to meet you, but he will wait for you at the church and he asked your permission for that. And now guys, I have number 3. What did Rosendal note about the capital while riding through the streets? He notes that it was partly new and partly old. There were wide modern avenues where the upper classes, the rich people live, but behind there were dirty narrow streets where poor people and criminals live. And number 4, I have, why was Rosendal afraid when he saw Antoinette de Maupin on the coronation day? When she saw him, he thought she would call out and say, "This is not the real king," because guys, you know that Antoinette de Maupin saw Rosendal before in the train, so she might call out and say, "This is not the real king." And now, why did Rosendal want to go to the poorer area alone? Because he wanted to make his people see that their king trusted them. As you know guys, the people in this area are loyal to Duke Michael and not to the king. So Rosendal tried to prove to them that he really trusted them. Number 6, I have, what did Flavia ask Rosendal to do with his brother? She asked him to keep a better watch on him, so she warned him from his brother, Duke Michael. And now I have this question comment. We will read these quotations and comment on them. First of all, I'll have people see that their king trusted them. Rosendal said these words to the marshal. Those people in the border area and those areas were loyal to Duke Michael. As I said before, they supported Duke Michael, so Rosendal walked alone in this area to make people see that their king trusted them. Now I have another quotation. You look somehow different today. Who said this quotation? Princess Flavia said these words to Rosendal when they were going to the palace. And now I have, God save them both. Who said this? These words were said by Colonel Sabt. He was in the restaurant at the train station and he heard people who were shouting and cheering, "God save the king! God save the king!" So he said, "God save them both." He meant the real king and Rosendal. We finished our revision and now let's move to our new part and see what happens there. But before this, we will start revising quickly the previous part. As you know guys, in the previous part they put the king in the cellar and went on their way to the coronation before Michael's men came to take the king. On the way, Sabt explained as much as he could of the king's past life, his family, his likes and dislikes, his friends and his servants, all about him. He told him also about the rules of the Ruritanian court and promised to be at his side at every moment. When they reached the capital, they met all the high-rank people at the station, except Michael, as you know, who asked the permission to meet the king in the church because of his illness. The old part of the capital preferred Black Michael, as you know, while the new part loved the king. In the procession, Rasandel wanted to walk alone in the old town to show the people that he trusted them. In the church, he met Princess Flavia and Black Michael. Flavia told Rasandel that he looked different and warned him from Michael. And now let's move to our new board, chapter 4, with the name The Secret of the Cellar. And it's time to know the secret. So let's know what happened in this chapter. Fred's, Sabt, and Rasandel were in the king's dressing room now, after the coronation. Sabt didn't praise Rasandel on his success when he walked alone in the border part of the city, but his manners showed that he was satisfied from Rasandel's reaction in the city. Sabt told Rasandel that Michael has had news from Zenda, and he went into another room to read it and came out looking so angry. Sabt asked Rasandel to get ready and to go back with him to Zenda. Why, guys? Of course, to bring the real king. Sabt told Fred what he must tell the others, that the king goes to bed. He is tired and no one is to see him until 9 tomorrow morning, and you have to lock the room. He focused on the word no one. You understand? No one must see the king, and added not even Black Michael. And then Sabt and Rasandel got ready. Rasandel dressed as his servant, not as the king, of course, and then went through a servant door along a dark passage to the palace garden. 2 fine horses were waiting for them. They felt danger as they passed the old city gate, but outside the city it was safe enough. They were in their way to Zenda to bring back the real king, when suddenly Sabt stopped. Listen, listen, Rasandel. Far behind them, they heard the sound of horses' feet. They made their horses go as fast as they could. And then Sabt put his ear to the ground, and he managed to know that there were 2 of the horses behind them. Sabt quickly gave his instructions to Rasandel to go to the right direction, as the other way leads to the castle. And of course, they don't want to go to the castle, they wanted to go to the lodge to bring the king. They had entered the forest of Zenda and waited in hiding to see who they were on the horses. In this time, guys, the moon was full, so they could see clearly who are on the horses. They are Duke Michael with a big strong man who is Max Holf. So this is Max Holf. He is a big strong man, and he is the brother of Juan, the forest guard. So there are 2 of them, Duke Michael and Max Holf. The 2 stopped discussing which road better to go. Max Holf suggested going to the castle, not the lodge, not to be a trap. He was afraid that maybe there is a trap for them. And if everything is well, and remember this, if everything is well, this is a message. As in the message, they go to the lodge. In a moment, the 2 horses were off up the road to the left. I mean to the castle, of course. All the road to the lodge, Sabt and Rasandel were thinking of the sentence, all is well, all is well. What did it mean? What did the sentence mean? Then they reached the lodge. I mean Rasandel and Sabt, of course. Everything in the lodge was still and quiet. Then they saw something that made them astonished. What do you think they saw? I tell you now. They saw several pieces of torn clothes. They were what he used to tie the old woman. As you know, Joan's mother, he used some torn clothes to tie her, so he saw these torn clothes in front of the sludge. They hurried inside and ran down the steps to the cellar. Sabt, guys, was afraid of what he might find in the dark cellar. They entered, and over in the corner they saw the body of a man lying on his back, and all around him was blood. Yeah, guys, was blood. I want you now to try to guess who was that man. No, guys, he isn't the king, but he was poor Joseph, his servant. Sabt saw him and cried out, "The king! My God, where is the king?" They searched, guys, in every part in the cellar, but the king wasn't there. Sabt said that they had got the king. Guess, guys, who got him? Of course, Michael and his men. And of course, that explained the message that said, "All is well." Sabt looked half crazy, asking himself questions like, what does that matter? What does he think now? He means Michael. What does Michael think now? Rossendal cried, "We must get back and collect every soldier in Stralsund. This Michael will have to be caught. The king may be murdered while we sit here. We must get back." Then, guys, Sabt smiled, saying, "Yes, we will go. The king will be in his capital tomorrow. The crowned king, of course." Who mean by the crowned king? He means Rossendal. Sabt was caring about the king's throne, so he tried to persuade Rossendal to go back to Stralsund and complete pretending being the king, saying that people won't accept a king who was too drunk to be crowned and sent another one instead of him. Of course, the Duke and his servants will know the truth, but they can't speak. Why, guys, can't Duke Michael and his men speak? Of course, they can't tell the truth about Rossendal without letting everyone know that what they have done to the king. Sabt said, can they say, this isn't the king because we have taken the king prisoner and killed his servant? Do you think, guys, Black Michael can say this? Can he say, this isn't the king because we have taken the king as a prisoner and killed his servant? Of course, he can't say this. Rossendal said he would be discovered. Sabt said, perhaps, but we must have a king in Stralsund, or the city will be Michael's city in 24 hours. Sabt now tried to explain. They won't kill the real king. If you go to Stralsund, of course they would gain nothing by killing him. To put you as Rossendal on the throne. Can he kill the real king and keep you Rossendal on the throne? Of course he will gain nothing, so he won't kill the real king. They were about to leave when Rossendal said that they ought to bury this poor Joseph. Rossendal carried the honest Joseph up from the cellar when Sabt said, put him down, Rossendal. Someone is coming to do that for you. Guys, I want you now to guess who were coming to do that. Who were coming to bury this Joseph. And guys, in this time, they saw 8 horsemen. Some were carrying spades. No doubt they had been sent by Michael to remove every sign of their evil work, pointing to the dead body on the floor. This means they came to bury this Joseph to remove any sign about their evil work. Rossendal preferred to attack Michael's men before leaving. When the men reached the lodge, Sabt and Rossendal went out and started fighting them so bravely. They killed and injured a lot of them, but unfortunately, Rossendal's hand was injured by a bullet. Sabt asked Rossendal if anyone noticed him. He answered yes, and this is something good, that someone knows that this is Rossendal, to make Black Michael expect more trouble from them, and everything isn't okay as he thought. This is all, guys, and now try to guess what will be Michael's reaction towards what happened, and what will happen to the king this in the next part, which we will discuss later. And now let's discuss some questions together. First of all, guys, I have what has Michael had from Zinda and what did he do? He has had news from Zinda and he went into another room to read it, and every time he get out and he was so angry, as we said. What did Sabt and Rossendal get out of the palace? How did they get out of the palace and why? They went through a secret door along a dark passage. They did this because they didn't want anyone to see them. And also, as I said before, Rossendal dressed as a servant. Why did Sabt and Rossendal have to stop in the road? Because they heard the sound of some horses' feet, so they hid to see who were on the horses. Who rode those horses? Duke Michael and Max Hall, the brother of Joan, the forest guard. And now, guys, why did Rossendal want to go back to Stralsund? Because he wanted to collect every soldier in Stralsund and catch Michael. And he said this Michael must be caught and we must return our king back. Number 6, what was Sabt's plan after kidnapping the king? He told Rossendal to continue being a king until they could save the real king. Number 7, why wouldn't the Duke or his servants tell people that Rossendal was not the real king? Of course, guys, he couldn't do things like this without letting everyone know what they had done. They can't tell the truth and say that they have taken the real king as a prisoner and killed his servants, so they can't say this. So of course, they wouldn't tell anyone anything about the real king. What would happen if Rossendal refused to take the king's place? If this happened, the city would be Michael's in just 24 hours. And number 9, 8 horsemen were on their way to the hunting lodge. Why? They were sent by Michael to remove any sign about their evil work. This means to bury Joseph's body and remove anything, say that they were in the lodge one day. Number 10, what happened to Rossendal at the end of the fight with the 8 horsemen? His hand got injured as a bullet touched it. And now, guys, we have to comment on these quotations. I have the first quotation, how beautiful she is. These words were said by Rossendal to Fritz and Colonel Sabt. He was talking about Princess Flavia while they were in the coronation. And the second quotation you have, you might have known that from the clothes, but what of Joseph and what of the king? These words were said by Colonel Sabt to Rosendal. They were in the hunting lodge when they saw several pieces of torn clothes. They were what Sabt used to tie the old woman who was Juan's mother. So this means that they found the old woman and Joseph was dead and they didn't find the real king. Then you have the third quotation. I fear a trap. If all is well, why go to the lodge? If not, it's a trap to catch us. Who said this? Max Holf said these words to Michael while they are in the forest discussing where to go first, to the castle of Zenda or to the lodge where the real king. So Max Holf suggested going to the castle first instead of going to the lodge. He said that maybe there is a trap for them. So if everything is well as they have in the message, they will move to the lodge, and if everything isn't well, they will stay in the castle of Zenda. And this is a comment. Guys, in this question you have to comment by your own language. You have to say anything you want, but you have to say correct answer or acceptable answer. This is all for our session today. If you want to ask any question, you can ask me next session. Thank you guys and see you later.